Can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
We don't have the energy source to generate enough electricity for all the things we want to move from fossil fuel to electricity.
Welcome to Reeves Rants. Thanks for joining me. I got a good video for you today. It comes from The Hill, talking about ESG, environment and social governance. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into the video. So let's roll.
Elon Musk tweeted, "I'm increasingly convinced that corporate ESG is the devil incarnate." So what is it? Well, ESG stands for environment, social, and corporate governance. It's similar to a credit score. Though many people believe the ESG score is about climate change and the environment, the truth is the social and governance aspects of the score have just as much weight, sometimes even more, than a company's environmental impact.
A lot of these things are named certain things to get people who are not very informed to vote, and to vote in favor of things that just sound really good, that just sound like we're helping people out.
Tesla, a company that makes electric vehicles, has a moderate to moderately poor score. How can this be? Out of the 5 US-based automotive companies like Ford, which make gas-guzzling trucks, Tesla's ESG score is the worst.
How would you ever even start with a basis of a scoring for Tesla lower than Ford or Chevy? Just their basic environmental starting point is way better than Ford and Chevy.
Try to make sense of this. Lockheed Martin, a company that produces weapons bringing death and destruction upon the planet, has a higher social responsibility score than Tesla. Why is that? Well, it's because ESG scores are based on what neoliberal elites consider to be moral and good.
And it seems very fishy that Elon's company of Tesla has such a low ESG score, but yet these other companies that don't say mean things to the Democrat Party but go along with the Democrat Party seem to have better scores.
The attacks against me should be viewed through a political lens. This is their standard despicable playbook.
So when you see a ESG score, an environment social governance score, it actually means social.
The score is political. So the company reigning at the very top of the ESG scoring list is, believe it or not, Bill Gates founded Microsoft. Are we surprised?
Shouldn't the #1 electric car manufacturer in the world have the best score in the world? Considering we're saying that electricity and electric cars are going to save us all. It's going to prevent the global warming from it. It's going to prevent the seas from rising. And yet, a company that makes computer programs and computers has a better score than a company that's making the electronic vehicle that we claim will save the world.
So ESG scores determine how much and how easy it is for a company to secure funds and investments. So it's important to have a good score. The better the score, the greater the cash flow. It's why we're seeing companies go woke by regurgitating slogans like Black Lives Matter while hypocritically using prison labor. Despite people thinking these companies make these moves out of some sort of moral signaling, the reality is that many companies don't want to harm their ability to attract investors.
True investors won't look at this and see it as something that they need to follow.
Co-founder of Home Depot. It's Ken Langone joining me right now. As an investor, how do you get around this pressure to do ESG?
Look, that's political. That's not economic. We don't have the energy source to generate enough electricity for all the things we want to move from fossil fuel to electricity. Look, this will pass. This will pass. Put people in their homes where they can't heat them because they can't afford the oil. Trust me, they'll see the light. They'll say, hey, wait a minute, enough of this green stuff. What about our living now? Europe's going to confront this, be confronted with this in this winter, because there's going to be severe shortages of energy in Europe.
Any sort of score that directly ties cash flow to morals and ethics is ripe for abuse.
If we increase laws that help me, and I'm in power now, Well, when my competitor gets in power, he's going to have power over me.
Social credit systems are already being implemented in China where good behavior gets rewarded and bad behavior results in societal shunning. ESG scores are the corporate form of this.
We're seeing that social shunning of Elon Musk. We're seeing that social shunning of any company or any person running a company that liberal elites don't like. And that's why Tesla has a bad ESG score, is because he's saying things that the leadership of the world don't really like. And so they purposely give him bad scores, and then other companies won't lend him money when need be because he has a bad score. It's this way of shutting people out who don't fall in line with what the overlords want us to do.
So there are some obvious things, but then there are things that are not as obvious. When it comes to environment, it's a bit more obvious. When it comes to social, it's not as obvious. And when it comes to governance, it's not as obvious as well because it's just not like your CEO.
This looks like it's incredibly political to me. Do investors see it as valuable?
It doesn't really matter if investors see it as valuable, because the bottom line will still be whether the investment is a good investment or not. And so ESG scores may have people putting investments into things that are failures. Solyndra was a company financed by the federal government, and they went belly up. They would have had a great ESG score, but everybody would have lost all their money if they'd invested into it. This isn't about making our environment better. This isn't about green energy. Because if it was, then Elon Musk would be the #1 company. But Microsoft and Lockheed Martin would never be near the top. Never. But yet they are, because of who's running these companies and who they support. And the fact that they just go along like the good sheep that they're supposed to. And in some cases, Gates is behind a lot of it. That's what a lot of people believe. I'm not going to get into the conspiracies behind it, but plenty of people believe that Gates is behind a lot of this crap anyway. And it would make perfect sense as to why his company's #1 on the list, but yet they don't do anything for the environment to be green. If you're going to start with ESG, then it should be based in environment first. Social and governance don't even matter if you're not even caring about the environment to start with, but yet you're going to call it an environmental score. With that being said, if you're still here, it's time for you to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I really need all your help. Thanks for watching. Later.